Welcome to Brain Wellness, the podcast. I'm your host, Mandy NP. Each episode will bring you a new topic or interview related to brain health and wellness as part of my mission to help you on the path to a healthier, happier brain. So, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Brain Wellness, the podcast. My guest today is Megan Hurley. Megan is a brain injury survivor who transformed her challenges with cognition, communication, and focus into a mission of hope and resilience. Through resources to relearn writing and speaking, she discovered her passion for inspiring others to overcome life's greatest obstacles with strength and determination. A former high school teacher, Megan is a motivational speaker, educator, and advocate for multiple nonprofit organizations dedicated to raising awareness about brain injury, empowerment, and mental health. She delivered a talk at a Speak event, Leap to Success, and presented at various Toastmasters International conferences. Megan holds a BA from Fairfield University and certificates in mental health, wellness, and diversity, equity, and inclusion from the University of South Florida. In her memoir, Hope Survives, Strength After a Traumatic Brain Injury, Megan shares her inspirational journey of resilience and renewal, encouraging others to find hope and purpose in the face of adversity. She lives with her husband, Bob, and their dog, Shadow, in San Diego. Thank you so much for joining me, Megan.
Thank you very much, Mandy. I'm really excited to be here and thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, of course. It's always, since my own accident, it's been just a blessing to be able to connect with other people who've also survived similar type of things. And I've found that we've kind of built a little community within ourselves with all the people that I've connected with. So I'm very grateful for you joining here today and sharing your story also.
Thank you. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. So, kind of getting into it a little bit, my first
Mhm.
question for everybody always is tell me a little bit about yourself. How'd you get to where you are today? So, I think we'll hear a little bit about that accident probably here, whatever you feel like sharing. Yeah.
Sure. As you were saying, I was a high school teacher. I was a literature teacher, and I was in the library one day in July doing some research while working on my master's degree. I had a seizure, fell backwards, fractured my skull, started bleeding into my brain, resulting in a traumatic brain injury. That was it. It suddenly I went from being a 29-year-old high school teacher to waking up to this world filled with unknowns. And for those of you who are doing the math, that means I'm 46, not 29 anymore. This crazy situation. People ask me what happened, what big of a car accident were you in? How far did you fall from something? And the answer is I fell 5 feet 5 inches. I fell my height. It doesn't have to be some catastrophic event to a super magnitude for this to happen to people, which is a key lesson for me. And I, thank goodness, wasn't by myself. My friend picked up my phone and called my husband. The librarian called 911. I don't remember anything at all. I don't remember anything leading up to the seizure. I was told, it's been filled in for me since then, what happened, that I was in the ambulance, slipping in and out of a coma while seizing. We got to the hospital and my husband had to meet us there. He was coming there. He missed coming into the hospital by about 1 minute by the time they took me to the surgical ICU. So he had to wait in the waiting room for about 6 hours before he could see me. While I was being treated because I was seizing over and over and over again, they had to induce a coma. And I want to say about 3 days or so until I woke up out of that. I was Apparently I was still seizing in the coma. So that was a really big challenge. It was, everything was unknown. Besides that, I don't know what my husband Bob felt. I can't put myself in his situation. Besides that, my mom had her own struggle with this in that I had driven her. She'd been out here in San Diego visiting from New York for 2 weeks. I drove her to the airport and then went to the library,
Oh, wow.
which thank God I was not on the road and did not hurt somebody in a car accident. But she was in the air going back to the East Coast this entire time. My husband had to leave her a message. She got off the plane at JFK and had a message from Bob saying, Nancy, you need to call me. Something happened. You need to come back. I can't imagine how hard that was for them
Mhm.
and not being able to communicate with me and none of us knowing what was happening, what to do with this. Bob, my mom, my whole family, my friends I've created an incredible support network, which has driven me to do what you do is awareness, advocacy, helping to grow this discussion. And then along the way, also have encountered people who have not so much wanted to or had the continued patience to support someone living with a brain injury, haven't found the right doctors to really listen to me. And it's an ongoing journey, which it still has, but that is how it started in a library of all places.
Oh,
And that
man.
was, yeah, 2008.
Had you had seizures prior to that, or was that your first?
No, that was my very first seizure, which we tried with the doctors to understand what happened, what caused that, and we never could figure it out, which is why we got to the point where we said, let's stop researching going backwards and we've got
Mhm.
to focus on what's the treatment, what now.
Mhm.
So we have no, we never knew.
Wow. Wow. How much time did you end up spending in the hospital total?
I was in the hospital total, and again, from Bob and my mom
Yeah.
filling in these very big blanks, 9 days. Then I got transferred to another hospital, essentially so I could be discharged from a hospital in my insurance, who only kept me long enough to discharge me. I came home and went right back to the hospital because they discharged me too soon. I was having such severe migraines from the skull fracture that I had to go right back to the hospital for an extra night. So it was 10 days total.
God. What were some of those early challenges that you had to overcome? It sounds like there was probably a few.
There were two main challenges. One was learning what this scenario was, what this new life was, so we could learn how to adapt to it. Because literally, I was given no information. Leaving the hospital, they put me in the wheelchair, wheeled me to the front door, and put me in the car. Said to Bob and to me, go find a neurologist. You have a traumatic brain injury. It was a lot of me not being able to have any physical stamina. Bob was amazing and made a color-coded chart for all of the times of all these different anti-seizure medications that I needed to take. My mom stayed with us for a few weeks so she could do a lot of the support while Bob had to go to work because it was such a long time. The other challenge that was unbelievable is that I didn't receive any physical or occupational therapy. I was 10 days in the hospital in a bed. came home and was 6 weeks bedridden because I couldn't, I didn't have the stamina, I didn't have the coordination, and no support following that. I had to figure that out on my own, which I did in a very unexpected way. I will say the first time that I was able to step out of the bed and walk down the hall by myself, that took 6 weeks. I held the wall and kind of pushed myself against it. My mom was in the living room. She heard me, but she didn't know what the noise was. She thought it was me maybe falling or having a seizure. She came running out and we celebrated that walk down the hall.
Mhm.
It was such a giant first step, literally and figuratively, that I had not reached, I had not come anywhere close to. And we absolutely celebrated that moment. Then we had to go further with it. I started taking classes at the YMCA next door to me because I can't drive because I have a seizure disorder. And I hate group exercise, I will tell you. I don't like the feeling of having to do it right. I hate the music is usually blah. Everybody's watching you. I took all these group exercise classes. I just went down the list and they were not right for me. I couldn't keep up. I actually had an instructor on a microphone of a cardio something class come up to me and say, "You're going the wrong way." I looked and said, "I don't care. I don't. I'm working on standing up. I don't care what I'm doing." I literally got to the very end of the list of classes, which was Zumba. I knew nothing about Zumba fitness. It was the end. That was it. And I said, I'm going for this one. And it was just absolute magic. I'm grateful for that class. My first instructor is one of my closest friends out here. For anyone who doesn't know, Zumba is a cardio dance fitness class all about community and inclusion and celebration. I have zero dance background, and all I could do was step side to side. I got high fives, hugs, encouragement from all of these strangers who didn't care that I was going the wrong way. It's such an important moment because it was the first time I felt like a patient, a person, and
Mm.
not a patient.
Mhm.
That strength plus that feeling of community gave me the drive that I felt like it was possible to keep getting stronger. And then I became a licensed Zumba instructor as a personal goal and participate with classes and fundraisers to give back for what it has done for me.
That's really cool. That's really cool. What were some of the symptoms that you had to deal with on a regular basis?
That has been a big up and down. And it's one of those things that in conversations with other survivors, they understand
Mhm.
as we go along. One of the biggest ones has been the migraines. When I was in the hospital, the neurologist told my mom she is going to have migraines for the rest of her life that will be the most painful that she has ever had because it's a different kind of migraine. There are people who say to me, "Oh, well, you have a headache." And I'm like, "No, it's not a headache. It's this hor it's a migraine, but it's debilitating beyond. I had migraines in my 20s. This is different. This is completely debilitating, and the treatment for it just doesn't always work. It's That's been a big hurdle.
Mhm.
For me, the cognition doesn't always sync, which is starting to happen a little bit. I've grown more confident through it because even though I used to teach, I was a counselor, I used to do so much community speaking that it's not the same, but it doesn't take away from what I can do now and the passion for what I have now to be out there, to be using my voice, especially for those who lost their battle with brain injury and for those who lost the ability to speak, is that I survived and will not be a silent survivor. I feel that's something that is a gift I have. And because of this is not a discussed topic enough on a broader scale, the more that I can do to help raise that awareness also helps me in my journey.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems with brain injury is something that's come up on several of my episodes recently is that it's an invisible disability. People can't see it. You look just fine as we're talking.
You
I would
look
never,
normal.
yep, I would never know that you have a skull fracture. I
Yeah.
would never have known that
I
just
would never know there's
looking.
anything wrong with you. That's
Yep. Yep. And even though we might speak a little bit slower than we used to, you can still speak. You're able to get those words across. So people that had never met you previously might not even know that there's something wrong cognitively because you're still able to get your thoughts out,
Mhm.
even if it is a little slower than what you were used to.
Absolutely. I think that's a big part of why I talk about this and try to do what you connect with you and build community for survivors because this is the invisible disability. Your brain injury is the invisible disability because you cannot see my brain.
Mhm.
You cannot see the scar tissue on the damaged part of my frontal lobe. What I don't understand is why people ask us to prove it. I can't because it's not enough to live with this and thrive with it. However, to spend so much energy and time trying to prove that it's real, that's hard. Honestly, that can be just soul crushing sometimes.
Mhm.
I really feel like I need to say that because I want people to hear that. Nobody's coming to any of us with ill will intended. People are trying to be encouraging. I completely understand that. I never had to know anything about a brain injury until I had to. The thing is, you wouldn't say to someone or I have never said to someone who has a cast on their leg, yeah, I don't know. What if you just take that off and could you run around a few miles? They don't have to prove it.
Yeah.
When you can see the disability, you accept it. The reason we need to grow this conversation, grow the education, is so people can accept what it is.
Mhm.
Because the truth is, I spend more time and energy faking being okay because it's so hard to try to prove it. And really, hear that, everyone. Prove that you have a disability. Can you imagine having someone say that to you?
Mhm.
Can you imagine having your doctor say that to you? My first neurologist didn't believe that this was real. He said that I was faking my seizures to get my husband's attention. Yes, He's in front of my husband. Bob came, he still comes to every single doctor's appointment with me to support me. I have trouble with the cognitive focus. That way he can call my mom on the way home and tell her this is what the doctor said.
Yeah.
I will tell you that doctor this he treated me for 2 years. It was the first neurologist when the hospital said go find a neurologist. He treated me for 2 years. My seizure disorder, nothing improved ever. He didn't see me have a seizure, which is why to him he literally said, "You are like the boy who cried wolf. You're the girl who cried seizure. People are going to just stop responding. You're doing this to get your husband's attention. There is nothing neurologically wrong with you. Make an appointment to come back in 2 weeks." I stood up and said to him, I said, "That kid got eaten by the wolf. Why am I making an appointment to come back to you if there's nothing neurologically wrong with me? Give me the piece of paper to sign to send me my medical file." My file was about 2 inches thick. I read every single word of it. The brain injury was not mentioned once. He never took that into account when treating me, which is why I'm sure you understand it. All of us have gone through this. We have to be our own healthcare advocates.
Yeah.
And that is why I learned that I needed to find a TBI specialist neurologist, which I didn't even know was a thing that existed,
Hmm.
as do TBI specialist physical therapists, TBI specialist psychiatrist, TBI specialist pulmonologist, everything, every specialty. There is someone who focuses in brain injury, and those are the people who we need, and we need to know to ask for them.
Mhm. Yeah, because not every neurologist is created equal. I worked in neurology before my accident. So I had been a neurology nurse practitioner for 12 years before my accident happened.
Mhm.
So you'd think that I would have known a lot. And I learned now through my recovery process that I didn't know as much as I thought I did. And I probably was still more knowledgeable than other people that worked in the same field as me, because it's just, if it's not their area of expertise, they know a
Mhm.
little bit about all the neurological disorders and diagnoses, but not everything about them. When you get to a TBI specialist, it's a whole different ballgame.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're growing up, we're taught be respectful of doctors, don't question what your doctors are saying. They're taking care of you, they have the right answers. Of course, we want to be respectful of everybody,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean that we don't get to fight for ourselves and
Yeah,
stand up for ourselves because we're the only ones who know what our bodies are going through.
yeah,
I think that's something that we need to tell people it's okay
yeah.
to ask questions and learn for yourself. You want to be an educated patient because then you can be an educated survivor to help build a community and raise education and awareness the more that you learn.
Hmm. Hmm. How did you get to the point where you had the confidence to speak up and do the advocacy that you're doing now?
I became frustrated that I didn't have or did not know that there were resources available to me. I had been a teacher. My life was about communicating and growing ideas and growing thoughts and empowering other people. In the hospital, the doctors told my mom and Bob that I statistically, before I woke up, that with the degree of brain swelling, that statistically I would have some degree of either paralysis and or severe mental setback. I did not have either of those deficits to that degree, for which I am incredibly grateful. And that's a big part of why I want to share my story is it's that feeling of responsibility. It wasn't as much the confidence, but more the, I don't know if compassion's the word. I'm not sure what the right word is because I have trouble finding the right word sometimes. I think a lot of it was came from me wanting to learn about this myself and needing to learn about this, which is how it's funny how you meet people. I was in one of my Zumba classes a number of years later, and the woman next to me, who I became friendly with, because when you take a class, you have your spot and you always stand in the same spot. She was became a nice friend of mine, and she said, "You really should tell your story to people." And I asked her, "Well, how? I'm trying to do that. I want to do that. Come to my Toastmasters club tomorrow." And I didn't even know what that was. I literally had no idea. I'd never heard of it. It's a nonprofit organization for service, leadership, growing public speaking skills, confidence, becoming part of a community. It took a long time to find them, but through my friend, I got there. And then I relearned so many skills about how to put ideas and thoughts together as best I can. And I do also forgive myself for when it's not perfect or the idea of perfect that I want it to be.
Mhm.
It's
That's,
with
I
a lot
think,
of support from people, especially the San Diego Brain Injury Foundation. They've been incredible. And they are all about what can we do? We want to celebrate survivors and their loved ones and caregivers, which is such a powerful message.
yeah, yeah. I think that support from other people is 100% needed. But that the acceptance and being okay with where you are is also really important for recovery as well as just gaining any kind of confidence with it. I used to give presentations all the time as a provider. I taught nursing school for several years. I gave presentations all the time, but I hadn't given a presentation after my accident until almost a year later. And my first experience was speaking at the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance, the survivor conference last year.
Mhm.
And I came to that realization that, if I'm going to mess up on my words anywhere, this is going to be the place to do it because they will understand. They're all survivors
Mhm.
themselves. And speaking in a room of those kind of people, I did stumble over my words, but it was okay because they cheered me on and it was amazing. And I don't think I would have gotten back into speaking as well. I mean, I speak behind the microphone here on the
Mhm.
podcast, but that's a whole different thing than speaking in front of an entire room of people. So doing that and getting that out of the way in a group of people that understand, I think that's a great place for anybody with a brain injury to start and to do some kind of speaking like that.
Mhm. That is, I'm so glad you shared that story and that perspective of being in an environment that's created for support. I have to say that once I did find this confidence, it is absolutely my mission to become a voice for brain injury,
Mhm.
which is why I was selected to be a speaker at the Speak event and to with so much gratitude be selected to speak at various events. That is my goal, is I am trying to get out there and be a voice for brain injury. This is what my topic is. This is what I want to talk about. This is why people should come to me. This is why I'm trying to reach people. And I keep applying to speak at all different places because it's a discussion that needs to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. With it being identified as the silent epidemic in here in the United States, at least, if not the entire world now, it is something that definitely needs to be talked about more. And I think the more people like us can get out and talk about it from our perspective, that's where people are going to learn about it. One of the physicians that I
Mhm.
work with, he said that he's been reading a lot of books, a lot of memoirs from people that have had different injuries, illnesses, because he needs to hear it from that perspective as well. And I think that's where we can teach people.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Because as much work as clinicians and diagnosticians do, they don't have our life experience of this. Because again, I never knew anything about this
Mhm.
until I had to,
Mhm.
and had to suddenly 100%. And it's that passion and compassion that I know both of us are coming with our voices. I have, believe me, I'm filing my TEDx applications everywhere. That is my goal, is to get my voice out there again for the people who haven't been able to and aren't able to.
Yeah.
Because every time that I talk somewhere, that I give an interview of some sort at an event, there's and there's always someone, at least one person who says, I didn't know it was okay to talk about this. I have a brain injury, but no one talks about it. I didn't know it was okay to talk about. Or my mom is at home and I care for her, but she and I don't ask for help because we don't know where to ask for help. We don't know that it's okay to ask for help. I thought I was the only one, which magnifies the degree to which we need to talk about this.
Mhm. Mhm. It's a very isolating condition, and being able to then speak about it helps build that community.
Absolutely. And it also helps in our growth and our healing and our journey. Well, also, like you said, if you're in a space where you are talking about it and you have, I can't even find the word, situation where you can't find the word, you can embrace it with humor and you can move forward with humor and with that support of the people around you.
Yeah. Yep. We have a line in my house that my children and I share now. When I struggle to come up with a word, I'm like, brain is dumb, words are hard. And that's just what we say when I struggle to come up with words. And they use it sometimes when they can't find the right word as well. Doesn't happen as much as with me, but um yeah, it's you got to have a funny way to get through it, because I think humor is always the one of the best medicinal therapies that we have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the days that are hard are hard. And
Mhm.
those are okay too. I have my, see, I'm looking this way because he's out in the hallway. I have my seizure support dog named Shadow, which Bob got for me. My husband is incredible. He does everything to keep me safe as much as possible.
Mhm.
Shadow is my seizure support dog. We even have the same birthday. He's my little boy, except he developed seizures.
Oh no.
And I know, it's ridiculous. And now Bob worries about both of us a lot. The shadow is wonderful. He he can sense when that my energy, when I need to get into bed, he senses it before I do. And he just will run over to me. And I know, okay, it's time to lay down. But he's incredible. He lays across my chest. He'll lay behind my head so that I won't hit my head. He's phenomenal. He barks like crazy. He does not like if I am not feeling well, if I'm wobbly. He barks like crazy to get anybody's attention in the house or to get the neighbor's attention that something might be wrong. We can find that support everywhere, but even Shadow is not alone on his journey because we both have seizures.
Oh my gosh. What are the odds of
He's
that?
not even
My
with me
goodness.
right now because he's sitting with Bob.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh,
No,
Megan, I'm looking at the clock and we should probably start wrapping up for
I
both of
know.
our sakes on this brain. Um, Do you have any upcoming events or any projects that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Sure, thank you very much. I am actually, as March is Brain Injury Awareness Month, and we move into March, I am going to be active with the San Diego Brain Injury Foundation, their Walk for Recovery resources. That'll be on my Facebook page. It's just an incredible day to celebrate survivors and their loved ones. They're just an incredible community, and I'm honored to be a volunteer with them, be part of them. And as I said, I am actively here as a resource. Please, I'm happy to be there. I'm here to speak, to educate, to do anything that I can for people who need to hear from a brain injury survivor who need to learn about, want to learn about it. And like I said, I am filing all my applications to be accepted as a speaker. So keep your fingers crossed because all of our stories are important.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of social media, where can people find you if they want to learn more about this?
Oh, great. I have my Facebook page, which I think is going to be in the chat or available because I don't know the handle off the top of my head.
Yep.
I have my Instagram, which is Hurley Hope Survives. Twitter or X is TBI Strong. And there's a link for YouTube for the Speak event speech, and that's a place where people can find me also through the website that I gave you for the Canvas Revel interview.
Yeah. Yep. I will get all of those in the show notes so people can find that as easily as well.
Thank
And
you.
then,
I really welcome. Yeah.
yeah. And then any last words of wisdom that you want to share with our listeners as we wrap up today?
Yes, thank you for that question. I would like to say that the most important things for all of us are compassion and understanding and acceptance.
Mhm.
Also, our disability might be invisible, but survivors are not.
Yes, I love that. We definitely are not
We're here,
invisible.
we use our voices, and we show up.
Hmm. And you certainly have. Thank you so much for being here today, Megan.
Thank you so much, Mandy. It's been a real honor to be here and be part of your whole program.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Brain Wellness, the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this with others to help me continue on with my mission to help people live healthier, happier lives. Go to www.brainwellnesssolutions.com to see what I'm up to and get links to all the social medias there. See you next time.